have a problem where I'm a little over ambitious with what I think I can read in a certain amount of time. It was such a fun reading activity. Oh, do I have Finley hair in my hair? Hello and welcome to another video. If you're new here, my name is Erin and I'm so glad to have you visiting my channel today. Today's video is going to be a reveal of part of my Christmas present, which will be giving all throughout the year, and I'll explain that a little bit later. And I'm also going to be going over some of the books that I hope to read in the month of January, so a TBR, if you will. Without further ado, let's just dive right into the video. Last Christmas, not this most recent one, but the one before, my wife made me a reading advent calendar as one of my Christmas gifts. So for every month of 2023, she had selected a book for me to read in that month, and it was such a fun reading activity and it exposed me to new authors. So for this year, we decided to make this a tradition. So I actually made Cynthia an advent calendar, which I'll just briefly show you. I won't go into the books that I've selected for her, but I did mine as like a little book form. And Cynthia made me a really cool, I feel like these look like ice cream cones. So, and then, you know, there's one for each month of the year. And the theme for this year's reading calendar is the underrated works of authors. So there's some, you know, well-known authors, like I believe Virginia Woolf is in here. And, oh, what's his name? Ernest Hemingway. Yes, I believe one of his underrated works is in here as well. So my plan with this reading calendar is to create a video series for this year so that each month I reveal what book I'll be reading from my reading calendar. So to go ahead and get started, the book for January is Virginia Woolf, To the Lighthouse. And this was also one of my Christmas presents this year. So Cynthia got me this from a local used bookstore. And I read To the Lighthouse when I was in college, when I was studying abroad, but it's been over 10 years since I've read it. So I'm really excited to read it again. And I think at a point in my life where I might have a little bit more time to dedicate to it, because when I read this the first time, I had a lot that I had to read in a short amount of time because I was taking 2 courses over a summer semester. So it was a lot of reading. To the Lighthouse, I'll just read a little bit of the synopsis on the back. The novel that established Virginia Woolf as a leading writer of the 20th century, To the Lighthouse is made up of 3 powerfully charged visions into the life of one family living in a summer house off the rocky coast of Scotland. As time winds its way through their lives, the Ramsays face, alone and simultaneously, the greatest of human challenges and its greatest triumph, the human capacity for change. This will be one book that I'm going to be reading in the month of January. The next 2 books that I will be reading in the month of January, you may have seen if you saw my 24-hour readathon video, is Goblin Mode by Michaela Coyle, which I am still in the midst of reading. I think over halfway now. So I want to finish this one up. And then this one, which I did not get to during the readathon, They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. So these are 2 that, this one I just stumbled upon at my library, and the cover and the title just drew me in. And I've actually been finding it really, really enjoyable to read. It's one that because it is nonfiction. It's an easy one to read if I'm wanting to read for a little bit, but not wanting to like fully dive into a story. This one's a really easy one to pick up and put down, but it's also a very cozy read. The subtitle of this book is How to Get Cozy, Embrace Imperfection, and Thrive in the Muck. And then they both die at the end. This one I've seen pop up, with other booktubers, and it sounds so interesting. On September 5th, a little after midnight, Deathcast calls Mateo Torres and Rufus Immaterio to give them some bad news. They're going to die today. Mateo and Rufus are total strangers, but for different reasons, they're both looking to make a new friend on their end day. The good news, there's an app for that. It's called Last Friend, and through it, Rufus and Mateo are about to meet up for one last great adventure to live a lifetime in a single day. So this is a speculative novel, and I believe it's meant to be set like in the not too distant future, but that's all I really know about it. And it's one that I've been wanting to read because the plot just sounds really interesting. And also this cover is just so pretty. I love the cover design for this book. The next two books are for book clubs. The first one is for my library's book club, and we are going to be reading Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver, which by the way is a really cool name. For anyone who's familiar with Charles Dickens' David Copperfield, there are lots of parallels between Demon Copperhead and David Copperfield, which of course you don't need to have read David Copperfield to enjoy this book. I'm a little bit in. I think I've gotten up to chapter 3, so I've still got a ways to go, but so far I'm really liking this. It has a very strong start, and I have been reading the physical book, but also listening to the audiobook version, and the narrator on the audiobook that I'm listening to does a really good, convincing Southern accent, and this book is set in the Southeast United States. So just to give you a little bit of the synopsis, a masterpiece of contemporary American fiction, Demon Copperhead captures the heart as it evokes a young hero's unforgettable journey to maturity in the mountains of Southern Appalachia. I really liked the first 2 chapters. I just sat and read them very quickly one night, and I'm looking forward to reading the rest of the story for my book club. The next book that I'll be reading for a book club is actually an online book club, which is hosted by another booktuber. Her channel is Emmy Reads, and this is the World Tour Bookclub. The idea for the book club is to read a book from each country around the world. And the first book is going to be Like Water for Chocolate by Laura Esquivel. I think I said that correctly. And this is a novel in monthly installments with recipes, romances, and home remedies. If you're curious about this book club, it is hosted, like I said, by a fellow booktuber, and it's on the app Fable. I will link all of this information in the description box. Looking forward to reading this book and also participating in my first online book club. The next book that I will be reading this month is actually an audiobook, and it is Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. Specifically, I'll be listening to the audiobook that is the BBC Radio performance. So it has a full cast that is narrating the story. And because it's a performance, it's a condensed version of the story. This book has also been turned into a TV series. I heard someone describe it as if Monty Python rewrote the Book of Revelations in the Bible. So it sounds like a very silly kind of slapstick humor type of story. So which is kind of my type of humor, but I'm curious to see what I think of it. And the last book that I'm hoping to read in the month of January, if I have time, is part of a series. It is The Girl in the Tower by Catherine Arden. This is the second book in the series. The first one is The Bear and the Nightingale, and I read The Bear and the Nightingale in 2023. The Bear and the Nightingale, Catherine Arden's enchanting first novel, introduced readers to an irresistible heroine. Vasilisa has grown up at the edge of a Russian wilderness where snowdrifts reach the eaves of her family's wooden house, and there is truth in the fairy tales told around the fire. In The Girl in the Tower, Vasilisa faces an impossible choice. Driven from her home by frightened villagers, she has only two options left: marriage or the convent. She cannot bring herself to accept either fate and instead chooses adventure, dressing herself as a boy and setting off astride her magnificent stallion. How did they say his name? Solove? I believe it was Solove. So that is the long list of books that I am hoping to read in the month of January. I have a problem where I'm a little over ambitious with what I think I can read in a certain amount of time. And it's so funny. I used to be the type of reader where I could only read one book at a time, and it had to be from start to finish. I had a hard time reading more than one book at a time. But then somewhere along the way, I started trying out reading maybe like two books at the same time, like a fiction and a nonfiction. And now I've gone in the complete opposite direction, and I am currently reading, let's see, 1, 2, 3, I think 3 books at the same time, which actually, is that accurate? Yeah, that's actually kind of low for me. We'll see how much of these I actually get through this month. And really, it's just nice to be able to read anything, especially through the winter when, like today, it's been pretty rainy, although it is starting to clear up now. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know in the comments what you are hoping to read in the month of January. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I'm planning to read this month and what you thought of them. Until next time, I hope you have a lovely and cozy book to curl up with. Bye-bye.